we're in an era where people are really listening to lyrics. And for these guys to be dropping bars like they did on Ace Trumpets, So Be It, I'm loving what I'm seeing, man. I think the old school is really, really putting a masterclass on.
I hate when people have arguments about impact. Because what is impact? Oh, clothes? There's way more to impact than just clothes. Nas has impacted the way people rap. Nas has had an impact in so many different ways.
I'm curious to know all of these people who are non-black who say the word, are you fighting for black issues? Does your friend who's when they get oppressed, are you there to support them? And I think that opens up a whole different political aspect, a whole different like humanity aspect. But I really think at it on that level. There's a lot of weight behind this word.
I've loved the success of Kendrick Lamar after the Drake beef. Yeah. But the one thing I do hate is that now we think everything he says is a Drake diss. You be like, oh, over here talking trash. You're like, oh, you talking about Drake right there. You talking about Drake.
Yo.
We are Ill-Advised Wise Guys.
Check out the full podcast. Link below.
Yo. We are the Ill-Advised Wise Guys. It's your boy Uche. I got my boy
Q-Beezy for Sheezy is way too easy. Kicking it in 114 degrees easy. Man, it's hot outside, brother. It's hot outside, brother.
Get your fans out,
I guess I can
man.
talk about it later. You know, it's hot outside.
Yo, man. You know the name of that new viral song where all the women are doing the little dances, talking about where the fans at. I know you know what I'm talking about now. Come on now.
I do not. Was it made by Sexy Red?
Oh man.
Can we perhaps see the dance? Would you do the dance for us?
Oh no, I didn't say I know how to do it. I'm saying y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Just do your Googles.
It might refresh my memory though. I can't quite remember.
Yo,
I might need to see it.
Moxie trying to go viral. Sure. She trying to go, yo, do I need to do the dance? Is that what we need to do? I actually don't know how to do it.
I can't do the dance. Would you possibly do this? Are you offering to do the dance right now?
How about I figure out how to do it? And then we can record it then once I figure it out. I'm not going to embarrass myself otherwise. Okay. We'll do that. We'll do it that way.
I think it's like the stanky leg, right?
It's
something like that, right?
You
gotta do the stanky leg.
Do you?
Bro, it involves...
No, Quincy, do you want to do the dance?
Uh-oh.
It's like something like this. It's something like, you know...
That looks like stinky shoulders, not legs. What are you talking about?
No, that looked like a spasm.
Yo, but anyway, welcome back to the Ill-Advised Wise Guys. This is episode 186. Shout out to the gang. We appreciate y'all for joining us as per usual. If you tuned into our last episode, then you're fully invested. You already know about Moxie. But if you didn't watch that last episode, say what's up to Moxie, our new producer. Moxie, tell them what's up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Moxie. Good to see you guys.
She's back, guys. And hopefully she, pisses you guys off a little bit more. I hope she did not check Twitter. I'm sorry, TikTok. TikTok in particular.
That's harsh. It wasn't. That wasn't.
She didn't check the TikTok comments. Okay, I'm just specifically talking about the TikTok comments. That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I saw a handful of them when the video first went up. I was told to buy a helmet. That helmets are free now. I was told they should just stop giving podcast equipment to just anybody. So I stopped there for my own sanity. I'm sure they got more creative as the videos kept going up.
I think you saw enough.
Yeah, I don't want to crush anyone's creativity. So just keep living your dreams, guys.
That's a great spirit. I love that spirit. I love that. Keep that attitude. Keep it. Keep that
There's
up.
Nothing wrong with ruffling. Nothing wrong with ruffling some feathers every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just
it's
ruffling
cool.
some feathers.
Yeah,
it's all good.
If it inspires a fun little video, I'm happy.
I agree. Well, yeah. I mean, but if you guys do want to check out that episode, we did talk about Kendrick Lamar quite a bit. We also talked about Offset versus Cardi B. And one other topic that's escaping me right now. But if you didn't check that out, make sure you check that out after this episode. But we got a jam-packed show for you guys. One that involves a lot of topics that hopefully will be a very, very good discussion, which I do think it will be. So, Q, you ready? Moxie, you ready? Let's do it.
Of course not.
Let's go.
Oh, my God. All right, here we go.
Don't you got to do announcements? Hey, brother, don't you
Bro,
gotta do announcements, brother?
Yeah, man. I'm about to alley-oop it to you, brother. Damn, man. Remember?
Alley-oop.
Yeah, give me the
A lateral.
off the backboard. Yo, and on that note, let's get into some church announcements. Q, what you got? Talk to me.
Check out ratingsgamemusic.com. Best music site on the globe. We got album reviews of, you got to remind me who came out.
Here we go.
Lizzo. I'm smiling so much that I'm wait, what she say? You make me smile? Something about smiling, but it's a very good album. Very, very good album. So Lizzo dropped a new album.
Okay.
Russ dropped an album, right?
Ooh.
Russ dropped an album that was very good. I heard it was very good. And then we got a movie review. Actually, we got pretty much like early access to the new Jurassic Park movie, Jurassic Park: The Rebirth. So Will's on it. He has the review. It's in the tuck. It's drafted. I just have to wait because there's like an embargo. You can't release it until later. But we had the movie review. I've seen it. So check out ratingsgamemusic.com for the best reviews on the planet. Bingo.
You got to make sure
it's RGM in other countries. RGM in other countries.
There you go.
Here. RGM in other countries. Ratingsgamemusic.com everywhere else.
There you go.
And
Hey, you got
that album from Lizzo is called "My Face Hurts from Smiling."
Yes, thank you. See that? I love Moxie. That's it. Yes,
there we go.
My face hurts from smiling. So it's actually a very, very good album. So Lizzo's rapping on it throughout the whole album. She's rapping.
Really?
She doesn't do like R&B or pop. Yeah, it's just like a rap album. Zaytoven. There's a beat by her and Zaytoven on the album. Very, very tight album. There's a song with Doja Cat. There's a song with SZA. Very, very tight songs. I would say definitely check it out. Especially check out those songs I mentioned. The one with Zaytoven, Doja Cat, SZA.
All right, that's a bet, man. Hey, man, you didn't tell them to subscribe on YouTube too, man. You did talk about the movie stuff, but we got some new content, right?
Oh yeah, we got some new content. We putting out. You know what I'm saying? We talking about. This Soldier Boy. We got new content. We got new content on YouTube. You got some new content on YouTube. Top 5 movie stuff, top 5 song stuff. It's brand new. It's in the infantry stages of our YouTube channel, but check us out.
Hey, you heard him. Y'all do that.
Subscribe.
Hey. And actually, by the time this episode comes out, we may or may not drop the Clipse Pusha T top video. So, hey, man, the Lil Wayne one's doing very well. So shout out to everybody for checking that out. If you haven't, man.
It is actually. It's doing pretty good. I was surprised. I was shocked.
It's doing very well. Hey, man. Hey, you said it. I didn't. So, yeah. Hey, RGM in most countries, y'all make sure to tap into the website. On to some other topics. We got ZeroSkips, the playlist. Shout out to everybody, all the undercover independent artists, the unsigned hype, everybody that is doing their thing, the grinding artists who don't get the recognition that they deserve. But we are here to give it to them on the playlist because you guys deserve it. Because guess what? If you end up on the playlist called ZeroSkips, that means your song is skipless, right? It's skipless. We can't skip it. That's what that means. Okay. On this week, we actually added a couple new songs. We got an artist called Captain E who dropped a song called Drip. We also have a song called How to Love by a gentleman named Stories. And also, shout out to Gilly, the kid's daughter. She has a song called Plastic Cup. Her name is New York, LA. She's fire. Like, I'm going to be honest with y'all.
Oh, that's her daughter? His daughter?
Bro.
What? I know exactly who she is. I know that song that you're talking about.
Plastic Cup, right?
Extremely talented. Extremely talented.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Extremely talented.
I was shocked. Yeah, I didn't know that either until I did some Googling and then finally figured it out. She had done a performance on Shannon Sharp's pod. This, that, and the third. It was very talented. We have artists like her and all the other people I named and countless others on ZeroSkips, the mother effing playlist. Link in the description, aka in stores now
Stop.
or in your
See,
pocket.
you
know what I mean?
Hey Moxie, can you give
Right
him
down
a
below.
strike? That's strike one. It's
Right down
not
below.
in stores. There's no such thing. They don't say that anymore. It's not a CD.
It's
not
coming
in
to
stores.
DVD and you.
It's on VHS. Damn.
Now in
Let me
Blu-ray.
live. Yeah.
Like, stop
Let me live, man. Damn. Let me cook, as they like to say.
It
But
comes with little glasses, so it's like 3D.
absolutely. Yo. But on this episode, we're going to be talking about that Mexican OT and the N-word, guys. If you are living under a rock, or if you just don't see this type of content on your algorithm, that Mexican OT, he's a Houston artist. He recently caught fire, or was rather under fire for his comments on Angela Yee's Lip Service podcast. And he said some really, really interesting comments about the N-word, pissed off a lot of people. We're going to talk about the impact of the N-word, but also just a few other things. Moxie's going to chime in on that one as well. So that one should be really, really good. And I'm hoping we get some real, real good engagement online as well. Also, we're going to talk about Nas versus Jim Jones. Yo, you guys, if you've been paying attention, Jim Jones has been talking crazy. And I'm here to speak for myself on that. Maybe he's not talking crazy to y'all. I don't know. But he sparked a lot of talk about his impact, Nas's impact, you know, who's more influential as a rapper, this, that, and the third. But we're here to expand the conversation. People have been talking trash about Nas a lot over the years before the whole King's disease, movement and Magic and all this, his collabs with Hit Boy. Is Nas overrated? We're going to settle that score once and for all, for those of you guys who've been wondering that over the years. But first, we got to talk about Clipse. The Clipse, one of the best duos in hip hop, in my opinion, of the last 25 years. They've been inactive for about 15 years as a collective. But Pusha T and Malice, I believe they're twin brothers. Am I tripping on that, Q? Are they twins? Or is Malice older? Who's older?
Hell no. Malice is
Who's
like
older?
8 years old. Malice is like 8 years older than him.
I'm tripping,
They're
bro. They
not
look
twins.
like
They
always
look like twins.
Yeah, that's
they
what
look
it
like
is. That's what
twins,
it is.
and
All right.
they have similar voices, but no, they're not twins.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Anyway, the duo from Virginia, aka Virginia Beach, their longtime collaborator Pharrell. Apparently, they're dropping a new album pretty soon here in a couple weeks. I don't want to date the pod, but they did drop 2 new singles called "So Be It" and also "Ace Trumpets." Pusha T took a bunch of shots at a few folks, Travis Scott, Kanye, the list goes on. But Q, talk to me about the new music, man. Are you excited? You know, are you looking forward to the new album? What's your impression of this new Clipse, you know, comeback? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yellow diamonds look like PP. Dog, like I can't get that line out of my head. I'm sorry, I cannot.
One of the greatest lines in the 21st century. I might add, but keep going.
You know why everybody as a music fan should be excited about the Clipse, whether you are a hip hop fan or not. If the Clipse are coming out, that means you're getting new beats by the Neptunes or Pharrell in this case. I don't think Chad is a part of this project. So honestly,
wait, hold on. Sorry, you know he's not a part of the Pusha T literally said no. Malice literally said there's no more Neptunes. Pharrell is Saturn. He literally said it. Like it's over.
I didn't. I didn't hear
It's
it.
over.
I mean, hey, listen. Unless he said it on Dateline, I did not hear it. Okay, so look, if you're first off, as a hip hop fan, in my opinion, the best hip hop albums are the ones that has one producer producing the whole thing. Pusha T and the Clipse have gotten a chance to do that in several different albums. Lord Willin', produced by the Neptunes throughout. Hell Hath No Fury, produced by the Neptunes throughout. Daytona, produced by Kanye West the whole time. And then It's Almost Dry, Pusha T's last album, produced by Kanye West and Pharrell. So when you have that consistency from a production standpoint, that alone should get you excited if you're a hip hop fan. But then at the same time, the Clipse are bringing controversy with them, right? Pusha T has had his falling out with Kanye West, which is honestly, I don't like to see. Some people get on the internet, they like beef and they like falling out. Some falling outs are not the same falling outs. Like Kendrick Lamar and Drake falling out, okay, like, you know, they fell out, cool. That's not the same as like if Drake were to fall out with J. Cole. I don't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to see Pusha T and Kanye West fall out. It seems a little more messy, but they do have that controversy backing them. So the album has controversy.
Right.
And then you know the rap mechanics are going to be on point. Pusha T, from a rapping standpoint, is easily one of the best rappers I've ever heard in my life. Pusha T, right? From a rapping standpoint, when you talk about the mechanics, he almost mirrors Biggie in a sense with the way he makes his raps like just give off like these images. So from a rapping standpoint, you should be excited about that. And then from a just like heartwarming, you know, these guys are back together, Pusha T and Malice, aka No Malice. Now he's back to Malice again. They're back together. So it's like, you know, from a hip hop fan, I think that's like a check mark for every single thing that you would want from a hip hop album. So, you know, I think I would be shocked and appalled. You know me, I'm not usually shocked and appalled. Usually I'm shocked or appalled. I would be shocked and appalled if this album was bad, man. I'm not gonna lie. That's all I'm gonna say.
We know.
Be shocked and appalled.
I feel you, brother. I feel you. But you and I know very, very well that it is a long shot. It's actually next to impossible for this album to be bad. Like I'm confident that they don't. First of all, they don't make bad music. So why would this start anytime now? I think we should be asking how good the project will be. Right? Is this going to be a classic? Is this going to be just a standard Clipse album? Which they don't really do, but like, you know, like I'd argue Till the Casket Drop is probably, you know, middle of the pack. You know, it's not their best album collectively, but it's a good album, right? Is it going to be something along those levels? But yo, what I've seen so far from these two guys, man, has been special. And I don't think people are talking enough about the hiatus that Malice went on, because for these guys to be brothers, a tag team, to be doing the duo thing for so long, Malice to take a break in rap for religious reasons and say, yo, the music no longer serves me. I found God. But then 15 years later, after his brother Pusha T, from my understanding, has been kind of like letting him, you know, go through his journey, but still being like, yo, man, bro, whenever you ready, let's do it. And for him to have like the same passion, if not like rapping at like a higher level, arguably, than I probably have ever heard him rap, that says a lot about these two guys. Because years ago, you and I, we argued on this pod, bro. And I'm going to keep bringing this point up every now and again when it applies. And it's the fact that we understand historically hip hop is a young man's sport. We get it. Young people bring in the trends. That will always be a thing in the world. And I think hip hop is an extension of that. But these guys are pushing 50. These guys, like, let's be clear on this. Like, these guys are pushing 50 and we're excited about, and it's not just us who grew up on these guys. I'm seeing like younger people being like, yo, what is this? Yo, the rapping is immaculate. Like, I think we're in an era right now with rap. And I don't mean like the guys who don't spit. I mean like the guys who truly rap, who are a little bit younger, the Ray Vons, like the Reasons. We're in an era where people are really listening to lyrics. And for these guys to be dropping bars like they did on Ace Trumpets, So Be It, I'm loving what I'm seeing, man. Like, I think the old school is really, really putting a masterclass on. I'm gonna be honest with you on rap. They're putting a masterclass on, bro.
We have to say that, you know, I think people will be interested in artists when you don't miss, when you don't miss, like they have not missed. Which Clipse album has been a miss?
Never.
I think that's what it's all about, right? Like Jay-Z, for instance. If Jay-Z were to come out, Jay-Z's pushing 60, right? Or what? Jay-Z was born 1969. Jay-Z is what? 56?
56?
Yeah, 56. And if
57, I
Jay-Z were to
believe.
come out with an album right now, Jay-Z would probably have a good chance of being on TikTok, you know, because it's Jay-Z. Jay-Z has put out classic albums. Jay-Z has put out classic songs, classic verses. And so, you know, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
But going back to the controversy thing, I think also Pusha T is relevant. Pusha T has kept himself relevant by engaging in beefs, right? That, you know, involve people that we care about. This is where, you know, the whole part about being in beefs, it sucks because it works. But, you know, it's some of the beefs, like, dude, I did my top 5 Clipse albums, right?
Okay.
Do you know Lil Wayne was on Lord Willin'? This beef with Pusha T and Lil Wayne spans more than 20 years.
That's a fact.
We're talking about this beef started with what happened to that boy, Baby, and Lil Wayne.
Hey,
this
bro.
is a 20-year beef, right? And the beef with Drake started because of that, because of Lil Wayne, right? So,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
they
you're right.
have beef with relevant people, and that's kept them relevant.
I agree with you. Couple points I want to mention real quick. Number one, we did not talk about and I hope the album doesn't get overshadowed by this. I don't think it will, but we didn't talk about the Kendrick verse that allegedly
Oh, yeah.
like is a part of this album that
table.
made them switch labels. Like they were on Def Jam, and because of the whole Drake UMG lawsuit, that made them go to Roc Nation. Like that's insane. If that is true, which I believe it is, because they confirmed it. So that's one piece. I wonder what the Kendrick verse is going to be, how crazy he's talking. Because remember in the beef, Kendrick literally said, I don't like the way you talking about Pharrell. For him, I inherit the beef. Yo, yo, come on, man. Like, we got to remember that part. So I think this guy teaming up with Drake's arch nemesis who destroyed him on Story Adidon. This is going to be a little bit of a crazy song, I believe. I'm anticipating. So,
well, you know, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something real quick. This is probably a sidebar.
sure.
You know what? I've loved the success of Kendrick Lamar after the Drake beef.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do hate is that now we think everything he says is a Drake diss. You cannot listen to a Kendrick Lamar song that's come out that's new where you're not looking for a Drake diss. You be like, oh, over here talking that trash. You're like, oh, you talking about Drake right there. He talking about Drake. So, but anyway, people are going to listen to that verse and say, oh, he's dissing Drake. Maybe he's not. Guys, rappers just diss everything.
They just
You know
talk
how many
trash, right?
times-
They just talk trash, don't they? Come on.
I was a young kid, and I would listen to hip hop music, and I would listen. I'm like, why are they cussing me out? You suck. You don't got as much money as me.
Right.
Why? I'm the listener. Why are you cussing me out? So,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
I
for sure.
just hope. I mean, to your point, I just hope that this album doesn't get overshadowed by that.
Yeah.
I hope people don't listen to the album looking for Lil Wayne disses.
I hope not.
disses.
I really hope
You
not.
know what I mean? Looking
I
for
really,
Kanye
really
disses.
hope not, man. Like,
I hope
it
they
could-
just really appreciate the art.
And I think people are appreciating the art, and I hope it stays there because I'm telling you, I've been watching the reception, man. People are loving what they talking about, man. And look, I do want to bring one side note if we have time. I got one short question for you. I hope this gives a short answer. Do you think Pusha T is corny for the way he brings in people's name into the album rollout? Yes or no? I just want to know. Do you think that's whack?
No, he's not. It's not corny, but it's not. So it's not something I would do personally. And the reason I say that is because, like, Pusha T, he did it 3 times, right? He brought up Kanye West. No, actually, I think he brought up Drake first. Well, this is in order of the interview leaks that I saw.
Okay.
So the first one was Drake. And he said something about, like, Drake, he called for lawyers after Not Like Us came out, right? He mentioned that point. And then he brought up Kanye West. He said Kanye West is not a man. So I'm like, okay, cool. But then now to bring up Travis Scott, I'm like, man, okay, it's like it's cool to tell your truths, and it's cool to, pretty much, give your whole opinion on the fallouts. But, I think 3 times is a bit too much. You know what I mean? And it's 3 mega rappers.
I respect your opinion, brother. I would be remiss
but I don't think
to
he's corny.
I would be.
I think he's beyond corny. You know what I mean?
Listen, I personally don't have a problem with it. I think he's a man at the end of the day. He has a problem with another man, and he's voicing it. It's really that simple, right? And yeah, he might be making $1 out of it and making it content, but who cares? Like, if what he said about Travis Scott is true.
That was sucker. That was a sucker move by
Travis Scott is a sucker, and I think it. And
but
I
it's
think
like
it behooves someone to voice it. Like, I'm not mad.
But
at
we
somebody for
don't
voicing
need
that.
we don't need to hear that when you're dropped the song. I'd rather you say that a couple months ago, like when it happened. You know what I mean? But like when we hear the song and you say it in the song and then you explain the story, it kind of feels like you were trying to, be shady.
You're using it for content. Like, if anything, you're using it for content.
A really good segue, because you guys were talking about throwing out other people's names, and we actually, and I absolutely, I hate to cut you guys off because I absolutely love everything you're saying, but in regard to Jim Jones slandering Nas. I'd like to get your guys' opinions on if you agree with what kind of a conversation that's been happening online. People saying, Nas, is he overrated? We have Jim Jones kind of implying that he's got more influence than him beyond rap with like lifestyle, clothing, his own community. What do you guys think?
I'll take it first if you don't mind, Q. Like,
for sure.
First of all, I got to give Jim Jones love off top because I'm seeing a lot of slander on his name, just for his in my opinion, outlandish take, which I do think is outlandish. But I'm gonna give him some love off rip. I think his influence within Diplomats, within Dipset, also in fashion, lifestyle. New York fashion, high fashion, chrome hearts. Like, if you're into fashion in that New York high fashion wave, you're going to understand his impact clothing wise and lifestyle. I give him love from that standpoint. And also, he's had a really good career later on in life. Like, he's put out some really good music. I think it's gone under the radar. People not talking about. He probably feels a little insulted about that people not really rocking with him. So it's probably where this is coming from. But with that being said, I think his comments about Nas have been way off base, right? And also there's context between these guys two, the history between these two dudes, right? Like, we got to remember Jim Jones is the same guy who said I'd smack Nas Kufi off. Like, they have a history of physical violence or just having beef, right, from back in the day. So like
summer in Miami, he said
back
in Summer Jam when I told Nas I'll smack off his Kufi.
Like,
summer in Miami. I remember.
Like, I'm not hearing people talk about that. Like, this is personally motivated. Like, that he's probably giving it up. And also, Nas don't talk, right? So he's probably an easy target. You know what I mean? So all that being said, I think his comments are just all base, man, because if you want to talk about who's more influential, there's absolutely no way in hell Jim Jones has a leg to stand on talking about he's more influential than Nas. Like, I don't even think this is a realistic conversation. I think it's quite laughable. Real talk. It's quite laughable. Nas is legendary. Nas is one of the pioneer, arguably has like the greatest album of all time in hip hop, period. Like, you could genuinely argue that with Illmatic. Also, he's a prototypical rapper. You know how many rappers have used Nas's formula and built whole careers and their whole aesthetic and their whole mentality and approach to rap off of how Nas approached the game? Like, I think his influence is much deeper than just wearing clothing. And, people like Jim Jones, he wants to establish his own aesthetic and his own imprint, rather, in rap. I just don't like the fact that he's trying to take Nas's name in the gutter to do that. You know what I mean? I just think it's weird, and it's probably personally motivated. That being said, there was a time where Nas did have a lot of doubters. There was a time where people said he picked terrible beats, and I agreed. His beats were pretty boring, guys. Like J. Cole had that narrative for a while. He did. He picked bad beats. There's a such thing as that. But to be honest with you, and I'll wrap this up, Q. Going into the later part of Nas's career, right? The collaboration with Hit Boy, right? King's Disease. Magic, volume 1 through 3. I don't even think this is a real conversation, guys. Like, what are we really talking about? Nas is not overrated. The answer is hell no. Hell no.
I'm just dying at the fact you said J. Cole picks bad beats.
He did.
He does not. J. Cole has a lot of good beats.
He was rapping over foreign beats. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. You know that was a
Born
thing
Sitter. You know how I feel about Born Sitter.
Come on,
how I feel about it. Okay, there's a few things I want to say here. There's actually a few things. So is Nas overrated? Absolutely not. Does Jim Jones have more hits than Nas? Absolutely not. But this is something that I see in arguments too often. It's people trying to pick an angle, right, to make a point. And it may not be an angle that everybody uses, but they see an angle, they see an avenue, and I understand. So let's get into Jim Jones's head. Why would he say such a thing, right? So remember that argument a couple years back when French Montana said he had more hits than Kendrick Lamar? Remember that argument? Remember that? And people were like, oh, you're not going to hear Kendrick Lamar in the club. You're going to hear a French Montana song. And then people were pretty much telling French Montana, list all the songs you have out. And then you look and you're like, oh, actually, I did hear that French Montana song in the club. But it's like, hell no, he had more hits than Kendrick Lamar. I mean, now with Kendrick Lamar with Squabble Up and stuff like that, Kendrick Lamar has absolutely played way more than French Montana in the club. But at the time, you can see the angle French Montana was coming from. So I kind of see the angle that Jim Jones is coming from. So what I think Jim Jones is trying to say, is that from 1990 to 2010, that's one era, and Nas dominated that era. And Jim Jones is saying, I dominated 2005 to 2020. He's trying to say based on eras. So it's like he's saying I dominated the most recent era of hip hop, which would be from 2005 to about 2020. And so, listen, granted, like I said, I still prefer Nas's music. I still think Nas has more impactful hits. But let's not, like you said, let's not sleep on Jim Jones. Jim Jones had Summer with Miami. Remember that song? I just told you. Summer with Miami.
Of course.
Bottles in the air with Trey Songz, right? He had songs like We Fly High, Ballin'.
Classic.
These were major classic. Everybody knew it. 100 remixes to We Fly High. He had Certified Gangsta. He had a lot of, highly impactful hits. He was on a bunch of remixes. He was on those songs that you can say, when I was younger in 2005, I remember hearing that song all the time. So I get the angle that he's coming from. I get where, he may feel like he has the upper hand, but to me, it's just not that, And my question too, I really wonder how much this has to do with where they're from, right? I'm not from New York. None of us are from New York, so I can't really speak on it. But, Nas is from Brooklyn, right? Queensbridge. And
no, that's
Jim Jones is from
No, he's
Queens.
from
Sorry, Queens.
He's literally from Queens. Queensbridge. That's Queens. Yeah.
Queensbridge, right? Oh,
Yep.
Queens. Sorry, Nas from Queens. And then Jim Jones from Harlem, right? So I don't know if there's some type of rivalry there. I noticed in hip hop today that Harlem, that's where a lot of those people are making those those Jersey Club songs and stuff like that. Harlem has a movement right now, right? And so I wonder if he's speaking from hey, Harlem, I'm popping in Harlem. I'm impactful in Harlem. Harlem is moving the hip hop needle. and maybe he's like, yo, Queens ain't doing it like it used to, or, you know, I just really am curious because there is a reason why he feels venomous towards Nas. There's something there.
I've heard a couple of interviews. I've heard his justification. I'll put it like this. This is where he's coming from, right? He's saying, like, to your point about the eras, right? We have 2005 to, I think you said, I forget exactly what you said, like 2015 or whatever it was, right? Jim Jones, while he is not in Nas's, you know, stratosphere numbers wise, accolades wise, right? He feels like his connection to the youth is much more of a linear path. In other words, Nas, in his opinion, is out of touch. Like kids nowadays, Nas is like an afterthought. He's kind of like, you know, like somebody like on the LL Cool J who they know is a GOAT, but they don't know anything beyond that. They don't have a connection to the music. Whereas Jim Jones, on the other hand, because he has a connection to the youth through lifestyle, right? Clothing, you know, the different things. He feels like his connection and his influence is greater. That's really where he's coming from. That's literally all he's been saying. Is my influence is better. It's more. It's or at least it's greater than Nas from a lifestyle standpoint. He's not really talking about music. If you listen to him, he's not talking about music.
I agree, but it's to who, right? Who is it impactful for? That's why I think, you know, bringing up the fact that he's from Harlem and then bringing up the fact that Nas is from Queens, is that to who, right? Like Harlem has a different type of energy. I know you've been to New York plenty of times.
Yo,
you know
stop
the boroughs,
it. Yo, please, you gotta stop.
Harlem
I'm condoning this, my
different...
brother. I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you. You're playing devil's advocate, I believe, but you gotta stop.
I'm not saying no. Listen, I just told you, Nas. It's not close. I didn't say it's close. I'm not saying. I'm trying to get into his head. That's all I'm saying.
I want to make sure I heard that again. Okay, I want to make sure I heard that again.
Saying
okay, cool.
To Harlem people, Jim Jones probably. Dude, Mace.
But that's one borough. That's one borough.
But that's what he sees. He sees Harlem.
But he's not speaking on Harlem. He's talking about in general.
I know he does, but I'm saying maybe his judgment is clouded because he sees Harlem. And like in Harlem, Jim Jones is probably a freaking legend.
I'm sure he is.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure he is.
He's probably a legend. He's more of a legend probably in Harlem than Nas would be, right? But if you go to like Brooklyn, like for instance, us, right? Moxie probably can. I'm curious to hear what Moxie has to say about this. To us, Wale is like, oh my God, Wale is a fantastic rapper. Part of that judgment of how we see Wale is because we're from the DMV, right? But did you see that viral clip of Kai Cenat saying, I don't even know who Wale is?
Wale, what he do?
Rap.
Oh, word.
It's crazy to us, right? But we have this biasness probably that we subconsciously don't even realize because we're from the DMV. Wale's from the DMV. So it might be just because we're from the DMV, we see him as better than or more popular or more impactful than he actually is worldwide, right? So maybe Nas is or maybe Jim Jones, because he's from Harlem and he sees the impact he has in Harlem, maybe he has a biased lens of how impactful he is overall.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
So here's what I'm saying. Here's my response to that is pretty quick. Okay, you keep talking about his Harlem perspective, which is one borough. And I'm not doubting that. Let's say that's true. Mm-hmm. You and I are having a convo about overall. We're not in the Harlem. We don't know anything about that. That's their business. We're talking about overall. And it's important for us. It's important for us to have that convo overall. Like, for example, you just gave it a great analogy. Kai Cenat said he didn't know who Wale was. Me personally, when I found out how old Kai Cenat was, I was not shocked. I really was not. But most people probably were. But here's the thing. In the real world, Wale's impact and his contribution in music, whether it's Grammys, hit records, does not get erased because Kai Cenat doesn't know who he is. You get what I'm trying to say?
100%. It doesn't. 100%. And I just want to say this real quick. I know we're probably running out of time.
Sure.
I hate that. I hate when people have arguments about impact. That is one of the things I hate the most. Because what is impact? Oh, clothes? Oh, yeah, because Jim Jones has wearing skulls. Like, there's way more to impact than just clothes. Nas has impacted the way people rap. Nas has impacted the way people think. Nas has impacted the way people probably get haircuts. Like, Nas has had an impact in so many different ways, but for some odd reason, when people get on the internet, on Twitter and Instagram, they only talk about the impact somebody has had on how they dress or in the club. That's all that matters.
Yo.
I get played in the club. I'm more impactful.
Yo, bro.
I think you make more of an impact if you're played in a car. Right? If somebody says, I was in the library studying for my exam and I decided to listen to Nas while studying for my exam, that's more impactful to me than saying I was played in the club more than Nas.
Fair enough.
It's like, when you talk about
that.
impact, they only really like narrow it down to like two things.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And by the way, I hope I have one last word. This is one last point. And this is actually Nas's greatest clapback to Jim Jones. I don't even know if he did this purposefully. Bro, Nas, throughout this slander fest that Jim Jones has been on, Nas announced that he is bringing a casino to his hood in Queens. Big boss moves. Now, remember how everybody gives Jay-Z credit about his business and how that's impactful and his influence and yada, yada, yada? Let's start having this same energy and discussion around Nas, because while Jim Jones is talking about clothes and fashion, bro, Nas not only impact music, he's now going into business, which in my opinion is a very worldly concept that, people who are not just from Queens or Harlem or wherever can feel Nas's impact. So we give Jay-Z a lot of credit for that. His boss moves. Nas is also doing a lot of crazy things.
But I don't want to like trash on Jim Jones. Like, us.
I'm not trashing him. No. I'm not trashing. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's not trash, but
I'm not
like
trashing
compare,
him. Yeah.
right? To me, you know us. Like, we grew up. This podcast probably doesn't happen if Dipset was not, prevalent when we were in high school, right?
Facts.
Dipset is one of the main reasons, like, I actually really love music, and it was because their impact. They had a movement that I thought was really cool.
Culture.
They were influential. So it's not like, there's some bums or something like that. But it's just more so about society and the way people argue certain things. To me, this argument got out of hand. And I think when arguments get out of hand, people, they start to look at, the specifics of what you're arguing, and it gets diluted. Like, explain impact. Impact is more than two things. You know what I mean? Like, when you talk about eras, Nas is still making. Nas won a Grammy like 2 years ago. Like, come on. Like, so, it's not about Jim Jones or Nas. To me, it's more so about, let's have more meaningful, more knowledgeable, more actually like productive arguments when it comes to stuff like this.
Well said.
Impactful
Well said.
arguments.
Impactful.
Well said.
You know what I mean? Impactful. That's true.
Speaking of impactful,
Well said.
I'm wondering how you guys are impacted by the N-word. And let me get a little more specific there. So that Mexican OT, about a week ago, he was on the Angela Yee's Lip Service podcast. And he was asked about his use of the N-word. And his response was basically like, he said, I feel like I can say it. I grew up around, well, his exact words are, I grew up loving these mother effers. I grew up fighting with them. I grew up eating with them. I grew up doing bad with them. I grew up loving them. And that response got a lot of backlash. And my personal opinion, I think, I don't know, something about the I grew up eating with them. I grew up doing stuff with them. I just feels very othering. And me personally, I think that the N-word is something that as a community, as a collective, the Black community decided we were going to kind of reclaim that word and put more power into it. And we've used it in terms of like endearment, of like joy, of surprise, of fear. Like it is like almost like a punctuation. You can end any sentence with it, and the sentence is 10 times cooler. I get why other people want to say it. It sounds so cool. It's the best word. Just kidding. But so I think when you say it like, oh, it's fine because I grew up with them and I know them and, you know, them, it takes like the power away from the word and it goes back to being othering. And at the same time, I do believe, I don't obviously speak for all black people, and if that Mexican OT were around other black people and he were using the N-word and the people in his immediate circle were like, this is fine, keep using that word, that's awesome, that's great, then that's their comfort zone. And I think you have every right to hear a word you don't like, and if you can't remove yourself from the vicinity to ask that person to not use that word, I think it's the same thing if you were around family and, I don't know, you had kids and everyone's cursing. You're allowed to ask those people out of respect, can you change your language to fit the circumstance? And so I don't know the crowds that Mexican OT grew up with, and what their comfort zone of circumstance was. But yeah, I know it's hard. You can't gatekeep words. I definitely was that person growing up who thought like, nobody else can have braids. Braids is a black thing. And if you are not black and you have braids, you're racist and you hate me and you want slavery to come back. And, you know, one thing does not have to equal all these other things. And I've, you know, just gotten a little older, and braids are pretty cool, and I think more people can have them. So that's my 2 cents. I don't know if that made sense, but
Makes
Yeah.
that's
No,
my
I get you.
impactful addition. I'll throw it to whoever wants it.
Yeah, Q, you go.
Yeah, what are your
You go
thoughts?
first.
I'll start. Yeah,
Well
let
said.
me wipe the sweat off my face. This is where things get super ill-advised. No, do you know, as I've gotten older, I've realized that there's certain things that we're just never going to solve. Like, there's not a right answer for certain things, right? I feel like the N-word conversation is one of those things. Like, there's never going to be a right answer or the right explanation for why it's used, how it's used, who can use it. It's just one of those things we have to accept that it depends. It's a case-by-case basis, who you're talking to, right? Or what principles these people go by. You know, the thing that's very interesting about that Mexican OT, which is crazy that somebody called that Mexican OT said such comments. But you know what's interesting about that? I don't think when it got to the meat of the conversation, I don't think he said a single lie. Do you guys believe he didn't grow up with black people? I believe he did. Do you believe that he did not fight with black people growing up? I do believe he did. Do you believe he's gotten money with black people? Of course he has, right? I don't think he's lying about that part, right? And then, you know, feeling like he's one of them, maybe he does. I don't think he's lying about that. Fat Joe has said something very similar. Fat Joe said he thought he was black, right? Fat Joe pretty much said they called him light-skinned dude. He thought he was black. It's, you know what somebody brought up? I noticed in the comments somebody brought something up, is that how tolerable you are to, you know, other people saying it might depend on the region that you're from, right? So for me, us, Uche, DC area, DMV, I heard plenty of Spanish people say it. I've heard it all the time. It was kind of like normal growing up, you know, because I feel like in places like the DMV, Hispanic, Latino people are ingratiated with black people here. You know what I mean? There isn't that tension that you see in other places. Like I hear there's tension between the two races in like California and things like that. But here and in New York also, like the Dominicans and the Puerto Rican people in New York are ingratiated into the black community. That's why I think Fat Joe says, you know, he says it because he feels like he's ingratiated in that community. So it's not the same as, let's say, like somebody in Idaho. If you saw like, somebody Latino in Idaho that said it, maybe you may feel differently because they may not be ingratiated. It really depends a lot of times on where you grew up, where the region that you're from. But to me, I'll be honest with myself. I'll be honest with y'all. Like, I don't really say it. Uche, you know that. I don't really say it. I don't really, I don't fault people that say it. It's just one of those things which is a bigger picture thing for me in hip hop. I just feel like we should expand our vocabulary. I'm okay with people saying the N-word. That's fine. But like, if you overuse it, like I want to hear, especially in hip hop, I want to hear more words, use different stuff, right? Because sometimes I feel like Moxie, you said, some people rely on the word just a little too much, especially in music. And so, from a vocabulary standpoint, I do wish people would, just expand, get a little more creative with the word. But hey, this sounds like a cop out, but I'm just like, this is one of those conversations I just don't think you can solve, right? I just don't think there's a right answer. You can't solve it.
You know what? I'm sitting here listening to both of you guys talk. Which, by the way, well said. Like, I'm sitting here listening to both of you guys, and y'all both make great points. Like, you really do. And I was like, man, what more needs to be said on this? And for me, I think there's a few things. Number one, I'll just get this out of the way. The issue for that Mexican OT, in my opinion, wasn't necessarily that he's not black using the word. It was more about his energy saying, what are y'all gonna do about it that I'm saying it? That was more so, I think, the issue people had. And I think anytime you are not a part of a community and you are, dare I say, privileged enough, I don't even feel comfortable using that word, but like, damn, like people gave you a pass to use it. Like, for you to now tell those people, what are y'all gonna do about it? I think it's just the wrong approach, and it will never work. You're always gonna get backlash for it. He was dead wrong for that, in my opinion. Number two, there's this word that gets overused way too much. Kind of similar to what you said earlier, Q, when you was like, people use the word impact. What does that really mean? There's this word called culture that people use every single day. I'm talking about in every industry. It's become a coined term. Oh, the technology culture. Oh, the animal culture. Oh, the this culture. But if you notice, people use that word way too much, and I'm specifically talking about.
Ain't nobody said animal culture.
But people say.
I was almost like, where has he heard animal culture?
See.
You guys heard what's happening
You were
in
cooking.
animal
My bad,
culture
you were
now?
cooking.
Yo, come on, bro.
You were cooking, and I cut you off.
I definitely heard the word.
Can't stand that animal culture.
Here's the thing though. I've definitely heard the word though on Animal Planet. I watch a lot of Animal Planet. I've heard people say it. That's beside the point. Beside the point.
Have you heard an animal say it?
Never.
We're appropriating the animals. Have you heard an animal? Has it come out of an animal's mouth? Has an animal allowed you to say it? Wait a minute.
Yo, damn, bro. You don't sidetrack me too much. But look, the point is this. The point is this. The word culture gets used too much. And the point is, the N-word has become a part of hip hop culture. Like, it's part of black culture, but it's also part of hip hop. And as we know, hip hop has expanded way beyond black people at this point. So as people are entering into this thing called hip hop, whether they're white, Hispanic, Asian, Arab, the list goes on. Add the country, insert country into this. It's almost like people have a right. They feel like they have the right to say it. I've noticed that, especially as the music continues to include it. Now, I'll stand off my ledge because I'm not here to preach. I agree with you, Q. There is probably nothing we can do about it at this point. Like, it's over with. Like, I think this is unsolvable. I just feel like within people's individual communities, I think it's up to y'all to govern who can say it and who can't. Me personally, I'm trying to stop using the word. I've definitely grown up saying it a lot, part of the culture, the hip hop music culture, the community. It's been a thing, but over the years, man, I've been like, it's a really limiting word. Like it doesn't have a lot of meaning beyond just the fact that we all have become so accustomed to using it among our peers and the people who we know. That being said, that Mexican OT, in closing, he was dead wrong. And I feel like anybody who has this type of energy talking about what are y'all going to do about it, you sound very, you're almost akin to the slave masters who were using this word on those people, aka black people at the time. You almost sound like that. You get what I'm saying? So I think people have to be mindful, specifically Mexican OT. And let's not, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that he did apologize. Although,
yeah, I was going to say that.
I don't know. I saw he was talking to somebody in a private DM. I don't know if he put that out himself. I don't know how that got out, but I did see he apologized. And I thought that was good of him to do because, again, I think it's up to our individual communities to govern who can say it and who can't. Other than that, bro, be mindful of how you actually speak to people and the words you use, because can you imagine if he asked, what are y'all going to do about it? And somebody in that room had a gun and they was not having it that day. Like, what do you mean? What am I going to do about it? And just shot him right there? Or like there was a real physical altercation. Would it really be that worth it? You know what I mean? Like, so is it really that worth it at that point?
So since, I don't have much to say about the topic, right? Because I said it's unsolvable.
We've only been talking about 15 minutes on this. Come on.
There's only 2 or 3 topics in this world that I think are legitimately unsolvable. And I see people continuously argue about it, but it's like, I personally think it's unsolvable. I'll probably tell you guys off camera. But to me, I think, so there's another angle to this. The interviewer asked him that, right? The person, and I think personally what I took from him saying that what are you going to do about it was he was irritated by the question. And I think he tried to come at a different angle than what we're used to hearing. Because to be honest with you, that's the most awkward question that anybody can ask.
Well, what was the question? Do you remember what the question was?
It was
because I actually don't remember.
Like pretty much it's just he's saying like, you say the N-word or why do you say the N-word or something like that, right? Okay. So
yeah, they just asked his general stance.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he defended himself.
And that to me is a very tough question to answer. It's almost like remember in the Breakfast Club when they asked Post Malone like, "What are you doing for Black Lives Matter?" And Post Malone's like, It's like these questions are very difficult questions, and some people choose to be like, all right, I'm going to acquiesce. I'm going to just kind of like tiptoe. Right. He was one of the few people that did not tiptoe from that aspect. So. Remember I told you, I off camera, I told you I was like, I kind of like that he said that, not from the fact that like, essentially what he said, but I like this tone because it was a different tone from what we're used to. Because let me ask you, which one's better to you? That tone or somebody faking it or somebody saying something like, oh yeah, I think it's a terrible word. I use it because, I think we get a lot of fake answers on these interviews in regards to that question, right? And so I thought that he gave, granted, I probably wouldn't have said that on camera, 100%. I don't condone it. I would not have said that on camera, but I do feel there was an ounce of like, this person actually gave like, not your cookie cutter answer to it. He gave what he felt was like the right answer, which was something that was crazy. So there is something there to kind of appreciate.
I'm not rolling with that. No. Because
not even a little bit. It seemed like a genuine answer from him.
Look, the only thing I can appreciate from him is the idea of answering a question, not that question, Answering a question with conviction. I like when people answer questions with conviction.
That's essentially what I'm saying.
Cool.
I literally said the same thing.
But because of the topic at hand, right? The room was not read properly. And I think that's the issue, right? Like you have to be mindful of who you're talking to, what you're talking about at all times, especially when you're a public figure. How many, dude, Tyler, not to get off subject, but I think artists are presented with this like dilemma a lot, right? Where they get asked questions and they're not prepared. So they may either say, I don't want to talk about it. Others may over talk. Some may get aggressive. Tyler was asked, hey, explain the whole color thing from South Africa. And she was like, oh, I don't feel like talking about this. Like she looked at her team. They didn't answer it. She got a lot of flack for it, right? People kind of killed her online. Like, bro, why don't you just answer the question, right? Whereas somebody else might be like, bro, like that's your life. How are you not able to articulate?
Her, right? She got killed online for that, right?
Correct.
She got killed online for not giving an answer. So that Mexican OT could have not given an answer, right? He could have just said, publicist. So there's a.
But hold on. But let's not act like.
Or he could have faked.
No, but
he could have faked it.
No, but remember, you watched it. He didn't only just say, "What are they going to do about it?" He actually explained, "Yo, I grew up with them."
That's what I'm saying.
He could just get to that. What's the problem? Hey, I grew up with them.
What are you going to do about it?
I later learned he has a half brother who's black. Like, and that's what he meant by, yo, I grew up with them, like da 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 da. Obviously in Houston, like, bro, just keep it there. But this energy you having about saying, what are y'all gonna do about it, is the wrong move in any scenario, no matter how you slice it. In my opinion.
Like I said, it sound for me. Like I said, I'm not condoning. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here. For me, it sounded like he was irritated by the question, right? And he wanted to give an answer that indicated that he was irritated, right? That is probably not the answer I would have given, but it's a natural, a raw emotion that came out, right? That was different than what we're used to hearing. Like I said, bro. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
I can't let you get it all, because let me tell you something. Okay. And now I'm gonna get on my high horse just for a quick second. You know, I think that mentality, and I know you're playing devil's advocate, so I'm not knocking you. But I have seen people sort of say, yo, man, what's the problem? Like, yo, man, I kind of like da, da, da. It's like, bro, I think this is one of those words where I do feel like it's so strong of an opinion that we can't tiptoe around these topics. We can't tiptoe around this stuff. Like, I think if you're gonna don't play with it. Don't play with these type of, not you, but I don't think he or anybody should be playing with these type of subjects. There's a lot of hate and energy behind this word alone. Like, and you're already not black. So you should be mindful of that is in the world, who you are in the world, and understand the weight of this conversation. I understand he may have not been equipped, and people mess up. I'm not trying to kill him, right? But I'm saying I'm glad he apologized. But this is more of a lesson, not for us. It's for everybody out there. We're all watching this. Everybody's watching how he handled this. It was wrong. We have to say it was wrong.
The point, but he's making that the point is he's trying to say, I feel like I'm black. I feel like I've been stamped by black people. So why are you asking me this question? That is the real, like, that's why I'm saying, like, you know, I brought up the regions, right? There's certain people that feel like, yo, I am stamped by black people, so I can say it. That is the bigger question to me.
I understand.
The bigger question is, who is stamping these people, saying that, oh, the black, you're good in the black community.
You know who is?
Like
the culture.
Eminem?
No, the culture.
That animal culture.
That one, yeah, that one in particular. The culture, animal right? culture.
So if he legitimately feels like he legitimately feels like, I'm good. Like, black people, I interact with black people all the time. I'm good. Like, they understand. Then, he probably goes into those interviews and feels like I didn't say anything wrong. Right? So
he does say in his apology, I felt like it was a stupid question, so I gave a stupid answer. So like he acknowledges that what he said was not appropriate.
Right.
And I think to play into the added like, what are you gonna do about it? Like the machismo and the audacity of that question. I think part of what people have a problem with is that the podcast studio itself didn't have a lot of black people in it, and they felt, would you act that brazen if it was a room full of black people, instead of saying, what are you going to do about it, to a room full of people who have no stakes in the game, versus what are you going to do about it to a room full of people who might actually do something about it.
And I saw, and by the way, that's a great point, Moxie, because some of you guys may or may not know there's a rapper named Sauce Walker from Houston, just like that Mexican OT. He had some initial remarks kind of condoning, in a sense, what Mexican OT did before he actually saw the real clip. And he later echoed exactly what you said, Moxie, just in the Houston version of it, and was like, yo,
he said, man, why y'all, man, you know, come on, that Mexican OT there, what number of women in there?
Yeah,
there was none of women in there.
He said,
I just translated.
Yeah, you said the clean version. He was like, man, that Mexican, he said, yo, bro.
He said, you dead wrong.
You know damn well if we was in that room with you, you know good and damn well everybody would have wanted to fight you. You know that. You know that.
That's exactly what he said. That's
so,
exactly
like,
what he said. Yeah.
To your point, Moxie, it's like, right? That's the context that I don't think people, are kind of factoring in as well. But hey, who knows, man? What do y'all think? I'm curious to know what you guys think out there. If you feel super strongly about the word, let us know why in the comments. Also, like, do you think that this convo is overblown? Should he have gotten killed like this? I'm very curious. I'm pretty sure you guys are. I think it's more important if we're having healthy dialogues online, not just people shouting at each other. You know what I mean?
This is actually a dialogue that's been happening for years. Remember J-Lo?
Of course.
J-Lo said it in I'm Real. She said it in I'm Real, and it was a big deal. Fat Joe has been saying it and like been standing down or 10 toes down saying I can say it. So this is not a new topic,
and it won't go away either.
Unsolvable,
and it's not going anywhere either.
We should end this episode with a soundbite of Kendrick saying, "We don't want to hear you say no more."
Exactly.
Yo, hey, great. I love that.
Look, I'd rather that Mexican OT say it than Logic.
See?
Logic is a white guy.
See?
I cringe when Logic says it. I don't know about you.
Bro.
I cringe.
See now we talking. You want to do the science on that topic? Because Logic is actually half black. So hey, go ahead.
I don't care.
So you cool with a Mexican guy saying it, but a guy who's half black?
I'm cool with half black people saying it. That's fine. I'm cool. I said Logic. That's what I said.
Yo, you ain't seen his dad? His dad is black. His dad's black, bro.
Have you seen Logic?
I have.
Come on, man. Stop.
He does not look black. I'll give you that.
He doesn't. Nothing about him is black to me. But that's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. When he talks, maybe his background and all that stuff.
You ain't wrong.
Sorry.
You ain't wrong, brother. Moxie, any last words on this topic? Are you good to go? Give you the floor.
I think if I asked the question that I'm thinking, it would create a whole nother segment and perhaps a whole nother episode. So maybe I'll hold on to it.
Or you can word it as a statement. You can word it as a statement. As opposed to a question.
Okay. I'll try. I was going to say, do we set a double standard for who can and cannot say the N-word, not even based off of skin color, but more so off of street cred? Like, why is Kendrick allowed to say, we don't want to hear you say the N-word no more, when Drake is mixed, but that Mexican OT is not black at all, but we're like, he can say it. So maybe that wasn't quite like a full statement, but that's just I sang that line with my whole chest. I'm mixed, and I was like, we don't want to hear you say. Like, I sang it like I wrote it. And at the same time, I can also be like, well, I let people say what they want to say. So I'm guilty of the double standard, but I'm wondering, is animal culture the cause of all of this?
That animal culture. Hey, I told you.
That damn animal culture, man. Listen, I tell you one thing nobody's ever said is, why the animals saying the N-word too much? That's never been said. It's never been said in
What are you
life.
talking about?
Nobody's ever said that.
They don't know what they're saying. But
That's my point.
let me answer. There is definitely a double standard. There's a triple standard in this topic. I do think it depends on like the swagger. Depends on like if you've been approved, right? Some people feel like they've been approved by the black community to say, and I think, one thing, this might be controversial, but I genuinely think like black people, we are too nice. We are way too nice. Like black culture is the most expensive thing in the world. In the world. I've been to Paris and I've seen people dressed like black people here. Like, and it came from either hip hop culture or whatever that we've created. I feel like black people, we are so nice. Even the term like, they're invited to the cookout, right? If you're cool enough, you're invited to the cookout. For us, I feel like a lot of times all you got to do is be cool. All you got to do is be down and we accept you. And this is a great thing. Don't get me wrong. This is a great thing. And I encourage everybody to continue to be like that. But the problem is other races are just not like that.
God.
Other races
Preach.
are not accepting us that easily.
Preach.
In situations
Sunday
like
too.
that.
Damn,
So
preach.
that's what it comes down to. I really genuinely think, and we and the sad thing about it is we get stereotyped as if we're all angry black men or angry black women. We get stereotyped like, they don't let us do this or they don't let us say that. I generally believe we are so nice. Even think about Beyonce, right? Beyonce just swooped into African music. Nobody said anything. It's actually beautiful, right? I don't know if we should be stricter, but that's the case to me. And I think with the N-word, a lot of people are okay with people saying it because they feel like if you got that approval, which, that Mexican OT, I'm sure that Mexican OT has black friends that said, oh man, you black just like me. You can say the word. Of course. I'm sure somebody will let Eminem has said it. If there's tape of Eminem saying it multiple times. But what do everybody say? Eminem, we let him pass because, Eminem's good with us. Why is he good with us? Because he makes good music, right? Bro. If there was something, if the roles were reversed,
Yo, no, you preaching right now, bro. You preaching right now. And furthermore, I saw a and people have said this too. But for me, I think the first time I ever heard this was if you guys are familiar with Paul Mooney, legendary comedian back in the day. Yeah. I think he passed away like a couple years ago, I believe. I don't remember what year, but anyway, sure. He once said, everybody wants to be a until it's time to be a. So I think, while we over here like condoning people for saying the word, oh yeah, come through, like to your point, Q, oh yeah, it's part of culture, we're so forgiving, all that is facts. It's that damn culture word that's the problem. And it's a lot of non-gatekeeping that is going on by black people because the word has been monopolized and transformed, right? When we can go back and I don't want to open this discussion, but like, should that even have happened? We know it's too late. The cat's out the bag. Like, it already happened. But my thing is, nobody want to be a until it's time to be a. I think there's times and places for that to happen. I'm curious to know all of these people who are non-black who say the word. Are you fighting for black issues? Does your friend who's a like when they get oppressed, are you there to support them? I'm curious. And I think that opens up a whole different political aspect, a whole different like humanity aspect. But to me, I really think at it on that level. There's a lot of weight behind this word. And I feel like while there's a lot of people who feel like it shouldn't even be said, which I think I'm gearing towards that. I'm like, bro, if you're going to say it, like stand on it. Stand behind the actual culture of the people who are saying this is an okay word to use. That's all I'll say, man. And
I think I'll leave it at that.
Stop
with the approvals. I'm going to just say that real quick. Let's stop with the approvals. I hate that. Also, let's start with the approvals. Like, man, like, why do we got so many approvers? Think about at like your 9-to-5 job. One person can approve a change to a system, right? Why is it every block has an approver? Oh, you've been approved. You've been approved. Everybody has an approver, right? There's too many approvers, in my opinion, in the black community to do certain things. Like, you know, for instance, it's like, you know, people say you got to check in to come into LA. Why do I got to check in? You know what I mean? Like, I just want to go on vacation. You know what I mean? Way too many approvers. And I think a lot of these people are getting approvals from these approvers. And it's like, you know, they feel like they can say certain words or do certain things because they've been approved.
Right.
I think
well
just
said.
to the real quick, Quincy, what you were saying about like us being so nice and so accepting and like willing to approve that there's even like this joke of this system of approval that even exists. I think that's why specifically the phrase "what are you gonna do about it" is hurtful, because it's like, damn, like, what do you mean what am I gonna do about it? I guess go cry and wonder like, I was so nice to you, I was so opening, I was so trying to bring you into my world, and you're gonna buck at me. You know, I think that's why it's painful.
Very well said.
It's like,
very well said.
That's the best point in this episode to me.
I agree.
Best point,
and that's why it needs to be. I think, like, I don't know. Again, this is just our thoughts, right? I mean, if you guys feel anything we're saying, I mean, shoot, feel free to like the video, which I didn't say earlier, and tell us why in the comments. But man, I think it's important to have this discussion publicly because, you know, these combos are happening in real time, online, maybe in people's home, right? But I think, like, these are productive conversations, even if it doesn't feel like it. You know what I mean? Even if it's uncomfortable, like, I feel like it's productive to have this discussion for people to engage and chime in and give their thoughts as well. But yeah, well said, Moxie. Well said. Well said.
thank you.
On that note, I think it's the end of the episode, guys. I think we've reached the end.
How'd I do? Was I rusty? I'm back.
Hey, brother.
There's nothing behind me, by the way.
I know. You did what? Matter of fact, get that place furnished, my brother. Yeah, for the next episode, man. We need some drip and some swag on the wall. What's good? Can we get that? Is that cool?
I need your approval. First.
Some plants.
I got a plant.
Good. Mm-hmm. Good. I was gonna say
I bought a plant from Amazon.
That's good. You get it furnished, bro. Get it furnished. Yeah,
Sucked.
man.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I'll be back.
All right, guys. Yeah, and as always, man, listen, I didn't say this earlier, but I'm gonna say it right here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, man. If you like this episode, if you learned something, if you appreciate anything that was said, if you want to chime into the discussion, man, leave us your thoughts down below ski. And with that, like I always say, if you're giving advice, just make sure that thing is ill.
Yes, sir.
Bow.
Leave your favorite racial slur down below.
We don't wanna hear you say no more.